What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. Now, in today's first post, an entitled kid tries to buy a custom-built PC on Facebook Marketplace. The only issue being, this guy wants to spend $80 on the PC and no more. Entitled kid thinks he can get a custom-built PC for $80. Has this happened to anyone who owns a PC building service on Facebook? So a week ago, I got a message from someone's kid asking for a PC. So I tell him what I tell everybody, and we got to the part of price. When I told the kid the amount, he said, okay, I'll send it in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, I got a PayPal notification saying someone sent me $80. I messaged him back saying, thanks, but when are you gonna send the amount of money needed to get the parts for the PC? Nothing. So I waited for 5 minutes and forgot about it. Now, it wasn't until yesterday that I got an answer back, asking when the PC will be delivered. I said, you didn't even pay for the PC, you paid for the labor. So after I sent that, the kid went crazy and started cursing me out. I just didn't even answer and refunded the $80. Wait, so you're legit telling me that this kid actually thought that the price of a custom-built PC was $80? I mean, did he think it was $80 for the whole thing? Or did he think that it was $80 for the labor, as you said, but then you, OP, would have to go and actually buy the individual parts of the PC, put them all together for the $80, sure, and then give them all to this kid for free? I don't know, but $80 for a custom-built PC? Yeah, not on this planet. Now moving on to our second post. EntitledParents left his kid alone at the airport. Back when I used to work at an airport, I often dealt with kids traveling without parents. This was a paid service called Unaccompanied Minors, available to everyone under 18, but mandatory to kids under the age of 12 who travelled alone. The rule is that the parent or guardian, or whoever escorts the kids, for the sake of clarity, I'll just refer to them all as parents from this point, has to stay at the airport until the plane is in the air. This was in case the flight was cancelled, because the paid service did not cover anyone staying with the kid until the next flight. The most extreme case would obviously be that there'd be no flight available that day anymore, in which case the kid would have to go home and come back the next day. Obviously, most parents were fine with going to the gate with their kids and staying until the very last minute. In all my years, I only had trouble with one entitled dad. He came to the business counter with his child, which was already a big no-no, as checking in unsupervised kids takes longer than average, and the business counter was, well, supposed to be a fast lane for business class and high-tier passengers. The dad chose his own gold card, so I bit back my annoyance and asked the person next to me to check in my queue until I was done. I gave the dad all the forms he had to fill in, which already annoyed him. The kid was obviously under 10 and seemed very sweet. She looked relaxed, and I guess she had done this plenty of times. Over the years, you learn to spot the ones who are not accustomed to traveling alone. The dad gave me back the forms and asked, so, where do I leave her? I got a bit confused, but told him, like always, that he had to stay at the airport until the plane was in the air. What? No, I paid for her to be accompanied. Well, yeah, from the gate to the plane and from the plane to arrivals. I have a meeting in a town like 3 hours away. I can't stay with her. Sir, what if the flight is cancelled? We'd have to call you back. She'd stay here with you, wouldn't she? That's not a possibility. Sir, you agree to the terms when you pay. I didn't pay for this. Her mother did, and she told me I could just leave the kid with you. At this point, the kid started crying. Daddy, please come with me. Don't start. You like flying, don't you? Mum always comes with me. I don't care. I don't have the time. I want to speak to your manager. While we waited for my supervisor, we heard an announcement through the loudspeakers about a car in the no parking zone. The entitled dad went, shit, and ran away, leaving his daughter at my counter. She started crying in earnest, and I panicked that the dad was taking this opportunity to bail. My supervisor came, we closed my counter completely, the queue was almost empty at this point, and took the kid aside to talk over our options, hoping that the dad would come back. After 5 minutes, and no dad later, we tried to call him. His number was on the papers he signed. No answer. Then we tried the mum, whose contact info was also on the papers. She said she'd call the dad and ask if there was any way we could take the kid to the gate if he didn't appear, if she promised she'd be there in about 30 minutes. We told her that there was still plenty of time before the flight left, and they could skip the security queue so we could make a little exception and wait for her at the check-in with the kid, but that we wouldn't let the kid go to the gate without her parents. The mother was understanding and told us that either she or the dad would be there soon. A few minutes later, the dad did come back, arguing over the phone with who we assumed was the mum. He yanked the daughter by her arm and took her through security. We felt bad, but thought that was that. No. I went back to my counter to finish the check-in and then got a call from the gate telling me that the dad had left the kid with them. Obviously, there's a lot to do before a flight leaves, so they couldn't really look after her, and they asked if I could try to see him and tell him to come back. I didn't manage to spot him, and my supervisor told me to go sit with the kid while she, again, called the mum. My shift was about to end, so I didn't have to hurry anywhere except home, and I agreed to work a little overtime. The kid was in tears, and my shift manager had to get involved. While my supervisor called the mum, the shift manager called the airline, asking if we could allow the kid on the flight if there's no parent present when the flight leaves. We were a ground handling company and did not directly work for any airline. They told us straight up no. Fortunately, I then get a call from my supervisor telling me that the mum had arrived. To make things easier at the security, me and the kid went back to check-in. The mum signed new forms and escorted the kid through security again. The kid made the flight fine and it left on time. The mum was so embarrassed about the whole incident, but didn't really stay to explain the dad's behaviour. And well, it wasn't really our business anymore. She did say this was the first and last time the dad would ever escort the kid, and thanked us for doing all we could. She was obviously upset and overwhelmed, but we're not in a country where we share more than we have to, so it was not surprising that she just left after the thank you. I had to stay a while longer to write an incident report and got home absolutely exhausted. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear from the start of this story that this was always going to be an issue with this entitled dad. Clearly, I think he just thinks, that he's too important to even be seen taking his daughter to the airport for a flight. And that's always been his wife's job, Why is he doing this? He's got important meetings to go to. Wait, what? I have to stay with her for a number of hours because it's legal? I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. It's kind of just like a crazy, selfish, I guess, opinion to have of the whole situation. Yeah, he clearly thinks he's more important than anyone else. More important than you, OP. More important than his daughter. More important than his wife. More important than everyone. Kind of, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, at least his wife is kind of, a normal person and is a more generous person and doesn't mind helping her kid fly. But yeah, crazy person, crazy geese. And I honestly don't know what would have happened in that situation had the mum not got involved. You would literally have had to call the police, right? Mental. Does this dad want the police to get involved? I wouldn't, but he clearly doesn't care. Now moving on to our final post, my entitled neighbour just demanded her garbage back or compensation. I just came inside from this confrontation, although apparently it started months ago and I just didn't know it. Now, I moved to this neighbourhood about a year and a half ago. It was bigger than my old place, so I wanted a few more pieces of furniture and also wanted to swap out a few pieces. I'm too cheap to buy new for the most part. Soft furnishings too big to go in the washing machine are the only things I usually buy new, so I upcycle and refinish most of my furniture. I do this mostly in my garage, but any spraying I do in the front yard on the mulch. Most of the neighbours had stopped at some point to welcome me or talk about my projects. A few had asked if I took orders. I told them I do and at a pretty low cost because I don't do professional quality. But it would have to wait a little bit as I wanted to finish my personal projects first. One of the neighbours who asked was the neighbour lady across the street. When I gave her my answer, she sort of sniffed and said, fine. This was almost a year ago. A few months ago was the yearly large trash pickup, where you can put almost anything on the curb and the city will take it to the dump for you. It's a great time to pick up new pieces. My neighbour lady had a pile of actually trashed items out, but as I was working in the garage, I saw her lug a console/entry table to the curb. It looked beat up, but not broken, and it was one of the pieces I was actually looking for. I headed over. It was pretty beat up as suspected. The finish was scratched to heck. A pet had chewed one of the legs, but it was a solid piece, so I asked if I could have it. The lady said of course, so I got my dolly and stashed it in my garage. It sat in the garage for a few months, but last weekend I decided to work on it. I sat down and refinished most pieces, but after assessing the condition of the wood, I decided I was just going to paint this piece, as the patching for the damage would be too visible through a stain. I stripped and sanded the piece down and fixed the damage. Today, I got it out and painted it in the front yard. It's a navy colour and I'm pretty happy with how it's going to turn out. Just as I was finishing putting away all the tools and paint though, my neighbour lady came marching across the street. I thought she would just admire it, as people like seeing their old trash transformed. But instead, she said, "I've decided that I don't want to give you this table, so I'm going to come get it when it's done drying." "No," I said. "You gave it to me. It's mine, and I put in a fair amount of time and money to refinish it." "But it's mine! You stole it from me, and I want it back!" "No, it's now mine. If you want it back, it will be $150. "What? But it's trash now! You ruined it! I thought you were going to refinish it!" "Then why do you want it back? Plus, I like it like this. Any other refinishing would have taken too long and cost too much." "Fine, if you want to keep it, I'll take $200 for it, so I can buy a new one." "No, you said I could take it from your trash pile. I even asked you before taking it. It's mine now." "I'll just come and take it while you sleep then." For context, I usually leave pieces in the yard overnight to dry. "Okay then, fine. I guess I'll just take it inside now." I then grabbed the leg of the table and proceeded to drag it into the garage. The neighbour lady reached out to stop me, but recoiled once she realised it was still wet. I pulled it in and waved at her with my now paint-covered hand as the door closed. It was a bit petty, and my hand is covered in paint, spray paint, so it doesn't come off easily, and I will have to redo the leg, but it was worth it for the look on her face. Thinking back as I typed this, I think this might have been her plan all along. Get me to take it, refinish it, and demand it back. I normally would have charged like $30 to $40 to refinish something like that, but because she tried to trick me, the price more than tripled, and she ended up with nothing. Of course, she is still my neighbour. I'm sure I'll have more fun with her in the future. Oh, OP, yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that that is exactly what this neighbour was trying to do to you. I mean, it's so obvious. It's so obvious when you're like, "Ah, yes, I will put this out right on my pavement, just so my neighbour, who I know does up trash, can see it. Then let her, meddle with it, make it look amazing once again, and then buy it back off her. Or just, not even buy it, just get it for free." Yeah, so obvious. It didn't work that well in this situation, lady, because once you say to someone, "Yes, you can have it," it's not yours anymore. That was never ever going to work. You're so dumb. Sorry, it's just stupid. Like, it's just dumb. Just pay her a little bit of money. Pay OP a little bit of money and say, "Look, you know what? I know I can tell you're really talented here. Would you mind having a go at this? Because I'd like this piece, but obviously it's seen better days. Give it a go. Give it a little brush up." And OP would have said fine for a pretty reasonable amount of money. Do you not think, guys? But no, OP did the right thing, putting the price up astronomically, because that's what you're supposed to do. OP did this for herself, not for her neighbour. Well done, OP. And neighbour, you're done. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Entitled Parents. Really hope you have enjoyed this one. If you did and you want more from me right away, then check out my playlist right here of all my Entitled Parents videos. If you are new to my channel, click here to subscribe, and also make sure to turn notifications on so you get a notification every time I post a video each and every day. So look, try it, press the button, and then when I post a video tomorrow, same time, same place, let's see if you get notified. Alright, see you there.